I brought an article called 6 Toxic Behaviors That Push People Away.
Uh-oh.
Okay, now don't miss this.
Okay.
It's so easy to point the finger. Listen, how to recognize them in yourself.
Oh.
Stop and
Okay.
change them, right? So the first one is taking everything personally.
Okay.
Right?
I don't do that one, so I'm good with that. Do you do that? I don't.
No.
I don't know how you can do that and be good in business.
Yeah, it's an ego thing, right? I don't want anybody to correct me. I don't want anybody to, or I've got an excuse for why I didn't do,
But the successful people I know in business, they're always asking, how did I do? Could you think I could do better? What do you think? The successful ones are doing that.
Right, that's the self-assessment.
Right. The middle management guys miss the point, right? That this is not about protecting your turf. It's about getting better.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing about, taking things personally is that a lot of people don't know how to respond to feedback. And so here's what I tell people all the time. It's just when somebody says, you could have done that better, you just say, thank you for letting me know.
I say, son of a Tuesday.
No, you do not. Okay. All right. So the second thing.
Okay, number 2.
Yeah, this is the toxic behavior number 2.
Nicole, roll your eyes. Oh, this is going to be a long article. Okay.
Is that we have people obsessing about negative thoughts.
Huh.
Right? So the day starts out and something comes in your world and you have an obstacle.
Right.
Okay. So you spend the first 20 minutes of your day overcoming the obstacle. Okay. Don't miss the fact that you overcame it.
Let it go.
Let's move on. But we have to stir it up, talk about it. And then we have a mental model going into every conversation, right?
Right.
And I walk in and I'm like, hey, you know what happened first thing today? And I tell you my whole toxic story. And now I am spreading the poison around the office.
That's interesting. It reminds me of a mentor of mine that I had. I had to do a little talk, and I was checking my emails before I went on the talk, and he said, man, don't do that. Put that down. And I said, why do you say that? And he said, because you're going to allow whatever that email is coming, and he said, if it happens to be negative, you're going to allow that to bleed over into the speech you're getting ready to have. He said, man, listen, when I'm getting ready to talk, I don't look at anything for an hour or two before that talk. I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah. So one of the most famous coaches in all the world is Tony Robbins. I know you're familiar with him.
Yeah.
And Tony Robbins says that before you do anything, you should get yourself in state. Right? Which means that you sit still for 5 minutes or whatever, and you really meditate and think very positive thoughts. And there's a whole psychology movement out there called positive psychology. And it talks about the fact that you need to get yourself in a positive state, and it's your responsibility. Right? So that takes us to number 3. You ready for number 3? Yeah. So number 3, it is your responsibility to be in a positive state. So number 3, stop treating yourself like a victim.
I have a hard time understanding that because that's not something I do. So that's a tough one for me to even comprehend.
Well, I'll give you an example. I work with a company that is in a area of the United States of America that is in a recession while the rest of us are doing pretty good.
Right.
Okay. Now, what's good is that business is coming back to this area. All right. It's an area where coal was taken away, and now some things are back in place where the coal industry can come back. And when I talk to these people all the time, they tell me how they're a victim of the laws. They're a victim of the fact that we don't have a lot of money for education. We don't have a lot of money for this, that, and the other thing. And so, before I can even start telling them any kind of leadership or management or anything, I got to get them in the right mindset. So they're a big victim. And it's if you stay in that place, you will be a victim, but it will be yourself that puts you there, right? So there's that victim mentality.
That's interesting. Now that I think about it, I hear that a lot from small business people. Why
the market.
Sales are flat, or the market, or my industry, or that's interesting. Yeah,
right. Okay. Or I'm in business with my brother. Right. And he's a problem.
My brother's a problem.
I can't get rid of my brother. And it's you and your brother need to do this personality work and get in state and get on with it, right? And help yourself out. Okay. So number 4 is cruelty.
Cruelty.
Yeah.
I am always pleasant to everybody unless they bother me.
You almost got the ding. So here's the thing, is lacking empathy and being able to put yourself in somebody else's shoes. Slowing down to understand what's just happened to somebody or the situation that they're really in, and not having a heart.
That's interesting because I'm really bad at that, except when I'm negotiating a deal. And then I know I have to understand and interpret the other side, and I have to know where they're coming from, and I can mentally put myself in their position. I could even make their case for them, right?
Right.
Before I get started talking. I don't do that on a personal setting, but in a business setting, I do that all the time. It's interesting that's the case.
All right. So number 5 is excessive reactivity.
I don't know what that means. I do not know what that means.
That means that we blow stuff out of proportion.
No.
Yes, exactly.
Us business people do that? No.
Yes. We think it's the end of the world. We have the Chicken Little reaction for sure. And then the last thing, number 6 is...
I'm getting Texas flying off the chart here. Oh, that's what Joe does.
Yep.
Oh, that's what Joe does. Yep. All right, you caught me on one.
Okay. Last one is needing constant validation. You're doing a good job. You're doing a good job.
Well, I do want you to tell me I'm spectacular from time to time. I mean, honestly, it is the most selfless thankless thing you can do is be a small business owner. There is nobody to tell you you're doing well. Matter of fact, it works against you because all of your staff realize things are well, so they don't come up and say, hey, man, you did good or we did good. They say, can I have a raise? Because I think we're doing really good right now. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, giving feedback, appropriate feedback, both positive and corrective, is like one of the main things that I teach people, so that people get the approval they need, but then we can still set those expectations and tweak performance. And I think that's really a key thing leaders need to be able to do is give proper feedback. There's a whole formula for it.
Really?
Yeah. So
we ought to make that one of your talks this month because I could use help with that. I really don't want to tell people that they did a good job. I got a hard time telling Julie she did a good job because then the next thing I know, she's going to want like lunch or something. I don't want to do that.
Yeah, well, the psychology would prove you different. The research would prove you different.
Okay, that might need to be one of our talks.
Okay, let's do it.
I like that.